Hi, I'm Jeff Apodaca.
Eric Strauss.
And thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Meet in the Middle.
We struggle to meet in the middle.
We're not struggling at all. By the way, I do want to recap last week's show. Last week's show, we had our wives on.
Yep.
I had a very pleasant week, by the way, with my wife. How about you?
Yeah, it was
No,
good.
we all agreed. And if you didn't see the show from last week, please tune in on Let's Meet in the Middle on Facebook or our YouTube channel. We have all the shows there.
At Let's Meet in the Middle.
Yeah, Let's Meet in the Middle. And so, but I want to talk about, because you kept saying, like, me and my wife were kind of like bouncing around. Look, we believe in marriage. We believe in a good family structure, and we think it's important. But at the same time, this younger generation that is seeing 50, 60% divorce rates, I would prefer my children to get married later in life than get married earlier in life. And again, would you buy an Apple phone if you knew it broke 50% of the time? So that's what we're talking about last week's show.
Okay, that's okay.
So I just wanted to recap
that. So basically, that's a long-winded way to say I agree with Eric Strauss once again.
But we said that last week. You just kept saying you wouldn't come into it.
You wouldn't say it. Like, I'm still a firm believer. Just to recap let me recap my opinion now. I'm going to say this again. I don't care if it's later in life, earlier in life, at some point, because I'm dealing with this with family members right now. Marriage matters. I'm going to say which marriage
and
matters.
And partnership matters.
If I talk,
absolutely.
Again, okay. Let's move on.
Okay, fine.
Let's move on.
I just wanted to clarify that.
I'm clarifying marriage matters.
And I agree with you.
Okay.
We meet in the middle there.
Okay, go ahead.
No,
you were going to talk about your...
No, that was it. You got the next topic. We bounced back and forth in this segment.
So the New York Times is apologizing.
I saw that.
They came out and they said, the Times wrote that the tweet was clearly inappropriate and offensive.
Tell our guests that we're talking about the Kavanaugh.
Yeah, I'll get there.
Okay.
We apologize and are reviewing the decision-making with those involved. The problem with the Times is they're not doing news anymore.
They do fake news, according to Trump. According to you and Trump, it's fake news.
Well, you tell me.
Well, I agree with you on this.
Whether it's fake or not, they're recklessly reporting. See, as a former newspaper, I actually wrote a paper and got accepted to FSU on a fellowship.
Right.
So I went for 2 weeks to learn about journalism.
Okay.
And the number one thing you have to do as a journalist is keep your personal opinions to yourself. You're there to report news. So when somebody opens up a paper, and I'll go into this when we get to the Trump rally later on, because it is so slanted the way they reported this. But when you report a story, you're supposed to be a journalist. See, people kept trying to get me to wear a MAGA hat, and I'm not there as a MAGA supporter. I was there to take in the rally and report on what I saw.
Okay, so we're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about
so we'll get there.
Another topic.
Hold on. But again, reckless reporting. They have to walk it back. I don't know why they have an agenda, but go ahead.
I don't disagree with that. Now, but I want to talk about, because this is the premise of our show.
Yeah.
So last week, I was very honored to be at a dinner by the Hispano Chamber of Commerce for the Hispanic Heritage Awards.
Yeah.
And they honored my mother.
Awesome.
Lifetime achievement with Ed Lujan, right there you see on the middle.
Ed Lujan.
Ed Lujan and my mother.
How pretty your mom looks, by the
Thank you very much. The Lujans and the Apodacas have been friends forever. Ed Lujan's a Republican. My mom's a Democrat. They're dear, dear friends. They honored.
Oh my gosh.
They honored both of them for Lifetime Achievement Awards. I'm very proud of that.
thing.
Me and the Lujans may have some differences on some things, but we're dear, dear friends from childhood.
Why can't you be friends?
Literally, I posted that picture on social media and was attacked by some of my Democratic friends. I can't believe Clara was there with the Lujans, Republicans versus Democrats. This dinner was about rewarding, honoring Hispanic service people that were Hispanic.
How about just good human beings?
Exactly.
It's
and Ed's even very proud. Ed, if you're watching, thank you for watching. He's very proud of our show.
Let's
meet in the middle.
In the middle.
Right.
Let's meet in the middle.
And we had a whole conversation on that.
Like,
so
you
with
can
a minute to go,
friends.
did you want to talk about anything else?
You can still. Ben Roethlisberger went down.
Ooh, I saw that.
Elbow injury.
How's Carr doing?
You got to understand that part of my love of the Steelers has been watching Ben play over the years.
He's a great quarterback.
And I've been enjoying it. And so it's a sad day. My son, but it really teaches, my son is so concerned. Like, he is a Steelers fan. I wonder where he gets that from. But he's really concerned, and at some point we need to talk about the lessons we learn when we lose. So,
well, let's get going. We're going to start today. We're going to talk about the debate. We're going to talk about the debate and the Trump rallies.
Ranked choice voting.
And we're going to talk about ranked choice voting. We have some great guests today. Yeah. But let's get going. Let's meet in the middle.
In the middle.
In a time of a divided America, two people from different points of view sit down to talk about the problems, to talk about ideas, to talk about life, and to find common ground. It is now time for Let's Meet in the Middle with your hosts Eric Strauss and Jeff Apodaca.
Welcome back to Let's Meet in the Middle. Jeff Apodaca, Eric Strauss. We're going to talk about the excruciating, gut-wrenching, gut-punching Democratic debate.
I thought the Democratic debate last week, yes, I'll agree with you, was very boring. Julio.
Who is your candidate?
Julio, it was Hickenlooper, and he dropped out. Governor Hickenlooper from Colorado, pro-business, moderate Democrat, turned Colorado around.
Not radical enough for your party.
Well,
not radical enough.
Not
radical enough.
So right now, I guess I'm favoring Biden.
So you're going Biden.
I'm going Biden, even that he stumbles and
Biden.
Hold on. So
last
week he talked about a record
He
player.
called it a monophone, bro. If you play the
so
words on a
my sons go. Hold on. My sons go. Daddy, what's a record player? Okay.
No, I think he called it the old monophone. I watched
I think he bounced around.
What's he talking about? Like,
but no, I
mean, if we play words at home and people get, I'm like, dude, he's got to get more coaching.
I think looking at the Democratic side,
he's got to get more coaching.
Well, by the way, he's been doing it for years, man.
But that's, I think, the problem. His people are just trusting that he's done it for years. He's at the age now where he can't wing it anymore. So Biden of old, you could put him in front, but Biden now, there's no way. He's at a point now.
I'm not disagreeing.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm a lot younger than Biden. And I'm having problems right now on my radio show. Like, I couldn't remember Harvey Weinstein the other day. Like the name wasn't coming to me. I know the story. I was covering it. And
let's talk about the debate. Let's talk about the debate.
Right.
Okay. No, but I think Julian Castro actually kind of attacked him about he forgot something on there.
And he's taking a lot of heat over that.
Well, and it backfired because Biden did not talk out of turn on that one statement. Yeah. And so it was actually
Dems
Julio.
Don't like mean. Like, they don't like it when they're mean to each other.
Look, I'm favoring Biden right now out of all the candidates because a couple of my candidates either dropped out or they're not. I don't think they're going to make it to the top 3 or 4. And I think there's a split within the party. We talked about it. So last week's debate, I think the interesting, again, going back to what I said before, if the Democrats follow Beto on going after the Second Amendment, if the Democrats,
by the way, thank you, Beto, for that soundbite.
Oh my God!
Tell them the soundbite so people know if they didn't.
No, Beto said we're going to, and again, he's talking about AR-15s, which a lot of us agree that they should be restricted.
Too,
right, AKs. But he basically said we're going to take your guns from you.
No, he didn't basically say he
said
put
as president,
I now have it in the toaster. I put his soundbite.
Right, and he did say that. So I do again.
Hell yeah, we're going to take your guns. He said it.
Yes,
straight
he did say that.
Because they're all thinking it, but he said it.
No, and again going back to the party, and again, you have to look at the electoral map, which I still support, by the way. Mm-hmm. But if the Democratic Party coming out of the debate is talking about taking 150,000 people's health care, spending $3.4 trillion, and I went and did these numbers, $3.4 trillion on a Medicare plan that is for all, and I'm open for universal health care and a public option. Because we've talked about that, and then you got Beto talking about the Second Amendment. Those are all positions that are going to hurt the Democratic Party in general.
$2 trillion. Kamala Harris pledged $2 trillion to HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. Right. So I guess here, let me tell you my Cliff Notes version of the Dem debate. Racism, everything's unfair. Take away your guns. And government can solve all your problems. There's my Cliff Notes version. Because basically, Kamala Harris just wants black kids in black colleges with black teachers because they'll be more successful. I thought that's what we fought against. Aren't we trying to be inclusive?
Argue that point. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
And as a 25-year educator, I took a lot of offense to the things she was saying.
No, that's what I'm saying and I think that's why Biden continues to do well in the polls, because when you look at the party, when you look at the polls, both at the national level and at the local level, 50-60% of Democrats don't feel that way. And in fact, if you look at some of the polling, 40% of Democrats, I'm just going off national polling, 40% of Democrats do not want Medicare, only 40% of Democrats want Medicare for all. So there's a 60%. And again, I favor a public option. I favor working with pharmaceutical companies to get the cost down and insurance companies, because those are the two that Obamacare never really took care of, and that's where we've seen our prices go up. But if the Democrats continue going down this,
Trump is hammering on lowering prescription medication costs, right?
but he's been there. Why hasn't
But
he
I'm just
done it?
telling you, well, he's only been there for 3 years, barely.
But he hadn't even addressed
Those
it.
guys like
on,
Biden,
but he hasn't even
if
addressed
we
it,
go
though.
down that road, Biden's done. If he goes
No,
up
I
against
understand
Trump
that,
because
but
he's part of the establishment.
Look, we've talked about that.
Okay.
And another thing they talked
Is
about is
do you think Biden has the best chance to beat Trump? Let's just.
I do. I think out of all of them, if they put a moderate liberal, it's going to be a woman, vice president candidate with Biden, that's a
Biden and Elizabeth Warren.
I don't think so. I don't think it would be.
Biden and Kamala Harris.
Could be Kamala Harris. It could be Tulsi from Hawaii, and it might be somebody else. I mean,
If
I'm
they were smart-
I'm blanking out her name. The gal that ran for governor out of Georgia.
I know who you're talking
I'm
about.
blanking out her name.
See why we need more coaching like Biden? See?
Exactly.
This is my point, though. That's
But
kind
I don't
of what
think
I was trying to tell you.
I don't think the debate did anything different last week to change anybody's minds on the Democratic stuff. And then a new poll came out right after that, and the numbers stayed the same.
Numbers stayed the same.
Numbers
So
stayed the same.
Biden didn't hurt himself then.
I don't think
because,
Biden hurt
man,
himself.
I watched it and I'm going,
Here's
How
my
on
concern.
earth?
I talked to some people today. Here's my concern. So Sunday, I got a little bit of break. Went to go play golf in the rain, by the way,
you always play golf, by the way.
but not in the rain. And it was cool to play golf in the rain.
Isn't that
In New
dangerous?
Mexico? No, there's no light.
With-
There was no
really?
light. You got to rain gear. Anyway.
Okay.
But so afterwards,
tell you.
no, but hold on.
Let's Meet in the
Afterwards-
Middle does not endorse playing golf in the rain, okay? So,
You can play golf in the rain. They do it all the time,
Okay,
just
but-
not with lightning.
Okay.
Anyway, but afterwards, I'm having lunch, and I would categorize the three friends of mine. One's a moderate conservative Dem. The other one's Eric Strauss Republican.
Okay,
and
let's
then
not-
pretty much an independent. Pretty
okay.
much an independent.
I would call me more independent.
But all
'cause
three of them.
But
But
I'm
hold
not-
on. But hold on.
But I'm not.
Hold
Okay.
on.
But I'm not Republican.
I'm telling my story.
Okay. All right.
So
But you're not lumping me in with Republicans.
I'm not saying, but okay. So all of a sudden, all three told me that they're going to vote for Trump if it's this socialist liberal agenda, and these are business-oriented, Democrat, independent, Republican. That two of them didn't vote for Trump last
Yeah.
time. Actually, they voted for Gary Johnson. And so, but that's my point.
So go give the numbers real quick because you looked them up before, and because we're going to
Yeah, 'cause we're
transition
gonna
into the Trump
transition
rally.
into Trump rally.
So if
Because
we look
the
at the
reason-
numbers from the 2016
I try to
election,
explain to
where
people.
they're at. Okay.
People say, "Oh, this is going to be a blue state. There's no way Trump has an opportunity to win this." And this is what the Republicans
got
are
an
looking at.
opportunity. He wouldn't have been here.
No, exactly. So in 2016, Clinton won. They always say Clinton won the state by 8%, and that
Yeah.
is true. But Clinton won 48%, so she didn't get the majority. She won
Okay.
48% of the voters. Trump got 40% of the voters. But people forget Gary Johnson got 9% of the voters.
See, and I thought the
when-
number initially was
like
lower than
3,
that.
right.
Yeah.
And I said no. And so when you look at Gary Johnson's support, it was Republicans that just couldn't tolerate Trump,
Okay.
mostly, or
Yeah.
libertarians, right?
Yeah.
And libertarians are a very small piece in New Mexico.
Basically, by a point, he could beat a Democrat.
My point
what your
is,
point,
they're
right?
assuming these 9% who are either Republicans that didn't like Trump at the time, they're not going to go with the socialists. Now, I think if Biden is the lead ticket, he might break this up a little bit. But with the Trump people, but with the Trump people are looking at, if Johnson wasn't in the race last time,
Do you think a libertarian would vote for Biden?
no.
No way.
No, but some of
No
the
way.
moderate
Yeah,
Republicans
so if
might.
we're calling the Johnson 9%, are you splitting that 9% between?
No. I do think if it's a Biden, that number gets more divided up. If it's a Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, I think that 9% goes to Trump. Absolutely.
If Bernie Sanders gets nominated for your party, you're done. You're done for president.
I think in 4 or 5 key states, I'm not going to argue that
because
point.
I don't think anybody wants to vote for a socialist.
Okay, so
I
let's
just
talk
wanna
about
tell
it.
you
You
about
were at the rally yesterday. Let's talk about
Yes.
the rally a little bit. So,
Yes.
so what were you talking about?
So I did something called journalism.
Come on,
kinda
man.
weird.
Oh, look at that beautiful picture.
Yes, I had a blast, by the way. The first thing that struck me.
By the way, man,
and
you
I'm
need to
gonna-
learn how to take
I'm
selfies.
going to be talking about this on my radio show as well. The first thing that struck me was the sheer. I'm literally was like slapped in the face over the sheer diversity of the crowd. I am talking the most. I've been to music concerts. I've been to lots of different public events. I have never seen the type of diversity that in that crowd ever in my life. If you talk about Hispanic, African American, Latinos for Trump, Asian Americans, there was a Hispanic lesbian woman, I interviewed her, holding up a sign, I may be gay, but I'm not an idiot. And she was all in for Trump. So the media hype on only deplorables or only white people are for Trump is, I would say that crowd 60% Hispanic off
funny.
the top.
I didn't.
Off the top.
He was live on MSNBC, and I didn't watch that last night. But I did watch I TiVo everything. So I did watch all the news coverage, local news coverage. And what I did notice, in fact, I told Jackie that this morning. What I did notice when we were talking about it is the people, the news stations, our local news stations, the people they interviewed for Trump. I think one person was Anglo. The rest were minorities or Hispanics. And what I noticed when they interviewed people that were there protesting, first of all, I agree with you, it didn't look very big.
No,
but what what I noticed was that it was very progressive, older white people that were there. And so
protesting? Yes, protesting.
So what I noticed.
Well, I can promise you I was there.
And again, the news crews aren't going to select people.
No.
They're just going to grab who's
I
ever
was
there.
It was a bunch and then the white people would hold their signs up, the anti-Trump signs,
that tells
and they wouldn't talk to anyone.
This morning, that tells me, folks, Trump does have a shot at winning this state because of that 9% of Johnson. But when you looked at his audience last night, and then when you start looking at Biden's turnouts, they're barely getting 1,000 people. Now, Elizabeth Warren is getting like 20,000 people.
Let me double down, because they reported 200, the Journal reported 200 protesters, 50. I sat there and counted. On TV, there wasn't 200 protesters there. I went out there, I interviewed them. Nobody would talk to me except some lady running for some seat or something. I don't even remember who she was.
I did notice he didn't. Hold on. I did notice he didn't. I don't recall him talking about the wall.
They said 200 protesters.
Well, let's about that.
He talked about the wall extensively.
Because I didn't see that in the news.
Oh, no.
So the news coverage didn't talk about that.
He talked about the wall.
He talked about our oil and gas industry, which I think is good. He took a little bit of credit for it. I think I would give our New Mexico oil and gas people more credit than the president. But, But I think that
he is softening regulations, so he has to take credit for that.
By the way,
I'm going to tell you, they reported 700 downtown. I don't believe that number because they falsely reported
at the Democratic rally.
At the protest at
it
downtown.
didn't look like 700 people in the news.
So the Journal, and this gets to my Kavanaugh story, why is the media taking sides? Report what you see.
I don't know.
Don't falsify numbers.
The Journal is not historical.
Yeah, but look at them fudge the number. By the way. There was not 200 protesters at that Trump rally.
I wasn't there.
It wasn't even close. Wasn't even close.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, okay, so, but again, it goes back to.
Okay, so let me give you my takeaways.
Okay.
Okay, Dem debate. Here's the two parties right now. Everything's racism. Everything's unfair. Take away your guns. HBCUs are the way to go. Government can solve all your problems. Let me tell you what last night's message was. Make America great again. Jobs, rise yourself up, self-determination, belief in the country.
And I do
now
agree.
Look at the two different messages there, brother.
I don't know about
you
Democrats.
Guys got
I don't know about Democrats saying racism stuff. I don't know about that.
Oh.
And you're going to argue that point. Let me get my points in now.
Really?
We're going to commercial. Let me get my points in.
Okay.
What I'm basically saying is if the Democrats continue to say free stuff for all, take health care away from people, a socialist agenda, the majority of us don't want that. We want lower cost, a better plan, absolutely. And I do agree on the Trump side that some of the oil and gas, some of the pro-business oriented things has been beneficial. So anyway,
it's a positive versus a negative message right now, brother, and that's where you
hold on. We got to go to commercial break. We'll be back right after this, and thank you for our sponsors, P&M, Indigo Mortgage, and Ryan Soenvac. We'll be back right after this about ranked choice voting.
I'm Ben Lucero, president and owner of Indigo Mortgage. We are a locally owned and operated mortgage company right here in New Mexico. This means your loan officers and processors are right here to serve you. Indigo Mortgage offers better rates and terms than that of big banks and out-of-state lenders. Our mortgage divisions include residential, commercial, construction, reverse mortgages, and VA mortgage loans. Let us serve you with an exemplary level of care. Indigo Mortgage, because nobody cares more about your mortgage loan.
We are connected by rivers, by mountain ranges, by unique culture. But what connects us more than ever? Renewable energy from wind and solar. P&M delivers renewable energy every day to our homes, businesses, and institutions across the state.
And they are committed to 100% emissions-free energy by 2040.
After all, we call this home too. P&M, together for New Mexico.
Ryan Sewing and Vacuum is New Mexico's #1 brother dealer. Brother's new Luminaire has a built-in projection system which helps with quilting, embroidering, and sewing. Ryan's has a variety of machines to satisfy quilters, sewers, embroiders, and long armors. We offer the finest vacuums like Miele, Riccar, and Lindhaus. Check out our fantastic selection of fabrics and sewing furniture. We also offer classes, repair, and financing. Drop by our store in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Ryan Sewing and Vacuum, serving New Mexico for 37 years.
Welcome back to Let's Meet in the Middle. Joining us now is Mario Jimenez from Common Cause New Mexico. He's taken on this grand task of trying to convince us that ranked choice voting is the solution for New Mexico. So I guess number one...
Well, for today, he's taking on the choice. But
Yeah.
his group and his organization is working for the state. Not working for the state. You're trying to push ranked choice voting around the state.
Yeah, so my question number one is, why ranked choice voting? Like, what's wrong with what we have now?
And at the same time,
Yeah.
Mario, for our viewers that may not know what ranked choice voting is,
explain
explain a little quick
history
about it.
So first, the history on ranked choice voting. So traditionally, our current voting process, it's, the top voter wins all. And whether that person won by 15% of the vote because you had several individuals who are running for office, they win by one vote, and that margin could easily only be 15%, like I mentioned. With ranked choice voting, you have ultimately the majority of the individuals who casted a ballot ultimately putting somebody in office, and that is going to be 50% plus one of the total number of individuals who casted their ballot. As an example, let's use the city of Las Cruces. Right now, they have 10 individuals who are vying for the mayor's seat. Mm-hmm. Of those 10 individuals, if you had an election today, there is no way that one person is going to end up with 50% of the vote. So ultimately, you have the majority of the individuals who have casted a ballot within the city of Las Cruces disagreeing with the individual who would take office. And is that what we want? Do we want somebody holding office that we don't want in office?
But hold on
so
for a second.
ultimately what ranked choice voting does is it provides a pathway for somebody to hold office that the majority of the people who are voting want to serve you.
See, why do I feel like it's the opposite?
No,
of
but
that?
hold on. Let me get to this point because, okay, so there's in the old system, right? There's 9 people running for office.
10
people running for office. Clearly, no one's going to get 51%. So the 2 top people that would get the votes would then move on to a runoff or a general election, and then whoever wins the majority there. So what's wrong with that system versus ranked choice voting, where all of a sudden now it's down to the 2 top, and then other people can make those decisions?
So there's several problems wrong with that. And one of the issues that was actually discussed in one of your previous shows is obviously the costs, right? So you're holding 2 elections ultimately. You have to hold 2 elections before you actually end up with somebody who's the ultimate victor. And so you're wasting funds by conducting a second election. In addition to that, you see a drop-off in votes. So the individuals who showed up, let's just say for the 10 people in the initial election, now you have 2 people that go off to the runoff election, the second election, which is a month down the road, later in December, which is again, around Christmas time, people are taking vacation, and they're simply not interested in the election because, well, my candidate didn't make it.
Okay, so let me ask you a
right?
question.
So
why am I fine with that, though?
So then you see a reduction in the people who turn out and vote.
Which
By
I'm
how-
fine
by
with.
how- by how much, though?
Let me
By
give you
how
an
much,
example. So there was a 28-year study done, and it was published in the Journal of Politics. And it showed that there was almost a 77% decline in the turnout from the initial election that was conducted versus the runoff election. So again, what's wrong with that? We have individuals who want to participate in the election process who ultimately do not participate in that secondary election. So while you have them at the polls today, let's engage them right then and there and have them.
So let me ask, okay, so,
send their
and
voice.
this is where you and I agree on.
Yes, sir.
You and I agree with you, whereas if the runoff was in December or after the holidays, that's why I've always said Let's move it up to the fall, and the runoff should be within 2 weeks, not 30 days or 6 weeks.
Well, there's problems with
But,
that.
but I'm okay with number one. If you don't have the wherewithal to go vote again, your voice doesn't matter then. And that's my point. This is why people who complain about the city council elections, it's like, what, 7% of eligible voters, 5% of Albuquerque voters vote? You know, ranked choice voting is going to help that. The whole problem is if you don't want to vote, that's on you. So if there's a 77% decline, I'm saying those people, great, don't go vote then. My vote matters more if I care enough.
But is that what we want? Do we want to encourage people not to vote?
No, but if you don't have the wherewithal to vote,
Well, let me
after
ask you-
Really,
you know
our
what I
ultimate
mean?
goal is civic engagement, and it should be civic engagement.
Okay, so we'll talk about
whether
that in a
it be-
second. Go
whether
ahead,
it be a
Jeff.
candidate, whether it just be somebody that's pushing civic engagement in general, we want to get the public to get engaged in elections, and that's something that this
But if
is
they
going to
have-
help
So
do.
let me ask you a question. So
Yes, sir.
let's talk about this. So Maggie Toulouse-Oliver, which we actually invited, our Secretary of State, we invited on the show.
Yes, sir.
She declined. She's out pushing ranked choice voting at the statewide level. I get it a mayor's race. I get it at the city level. I get what Santa Fe did.
Yep.
So how does ranked choice voting work in a primary system with multiple candidates from both parties, and then you're going to have a runoff? How does ranked choice voting work in the general election runoff if you have two candidates going against each other? Or are you pushing for open primaries and open general elections?
So, well, let's talk specifically ranked choice voting. Let's not get confused on ranked choice and open primaries.
Okay.
So the ranked choice voting wouldn't be included in a general election.
Okay,
It'd be very specific to a primary election. And to your point,
Is that what the
and to
Secretary
your
of State's
point,
pushing?
I can't and I will not speak for the Secretary of State, but to your point, let's use your race for example. There were multiple individuals who were in your race.
Correct.
Right? And ultimately, everybody's on the ballot. The person who ends up moving on to the general election doesn't receive 50% of the vote. Well, you utilize ranked choice voting in that particular primary race until you end up with 50%, just the way we would in, say, a mayoral's race down in Las Cruces.
But see, I understand.
And then you have-
I understand municipal city races because it's nonpartisan, it's non-primary, so it's supposed to be non-party.
Well, let's be honest.
Okay.
No, I understand it is party. Let's be very frank. But it's open primaries. It's open elections. A Republican can vote for a Democrat. A Democrat can vote for a Republican. An independent has a voice. In our
That's not the case right now.
in city elections, it absolutely
No,
is
it
the
is.
case.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking primary.
No, that's what I'm saying is in the statewide election is not that way at all. So aren't we better off on a statewide race at least having open primaries where independents have a voice for either candidate, or you have a Republican that says, you know what, I don't like my Republican candidate, I'm going to go for the Democrat, or vice versa. Wouldn't we be better off doing that than a ranked choice voting kind of system, even whether it's in the primary or not?
You know, I don't want to
Yeah,
speak
we-
to open primaries. Those are
Because
two
we're gonna
totally
get
different animals.
we're gonna get too off topic, brother.
Yeah,
and,
those
and
are two
here's the
totally
problem.
separate-
So I want
Hey,
to
man, I'm
address
just trying to get to the discussion.
Okay, so I want to get to ranked choice. Okay, do you know what exhaustion is? Ballot exhaustion. Have you heard of that term before?
I have, but
Okay,
if you could
so-
elaborate for.
So they did a study. There was 600 votes cast using RCV or ranked choice voting. In 4 local elections in California and in Washington, none of the four did the winner receive a majority of the votes cast. Why? Here's why. Problem was exhaustion. People weren't, and we talked about this at the beginning of the show. People, A, don't follow instructions, right? If they don't rank a candidate, does it throw out their ballot? So you're supposed to rank all the candidates, right? And so what happened was, it was called ballot exhaustion. So as they got through, there was too few candidates to stay meaningful. And so basically, the person who won wasn't the most popular candidate, right? Because there's so many problems I have with this thing, just on a human nature level.
Let me ask you a question. Are you guys, because I've asked Common Cause to look into
sir.
this, and again, I'm unaware of this, but so many people have come to me. Santa Fe used ranked choice voting.
Correct.
Yeah.
We even talked about it. We had the city council, Ron Trujillo on, who ran for mayor, came in second, and there was $800,000, we know that for a fact, $800,000 by the person that sits in the mayor's office a day, $800,000 by PACs that supported him, that went into the Latino community or the south side of Santa Fe, which is majority Latino, and confused the voters and manipulated ranked choice voting within the Latino community, and there were 3 Latino candidates running out of the 5. My concern is, how is the establishment candidates going to manipulate ranked choice voting. That's my biggest concern with it.
And it goes back to our human nature question.
Well, and I want to ask
too.
your opinion because I might be wrong on that.
So there really is no way to manipulate the vote. Okay, let's just get that out of the way right now. New Mexico itself is one of the leaders in elections, countrywide. That is why Maggie has gone on MSNBC and other newscasts to promote how elections are being conducted in New Mexico. I will say foremost that all county clerks, Democrats and Republicans alike, take a lot of pride in conducting the elections the way they do. And I mean, we are at the top. So let's get that out of the way. Now, as far as PACs and money coming in, that's happening now. There's nothing to stop that. That's going to continue to happen. So what it boils down to is voter education, right? We need to educate the public on how to properly cast their ballot. So let's talk about how when we first went to the new voting system, everybody was scared, everybody was up in arms, oh, we're gonna have to bubble it in, I like the machines. Well, it all comes down to voter education. Once everybody understood the new method of voting, everybody loved it. Once everybody understood when we converted to...
I don't want to say everybody, because I hate those generalizations.
Well, let's also take this into consideration.
We got 2 minutes left in the segment.
Let's take this
just like saying we're the
we got
leaders
2
and
minutes.
then
We got
went
2
with
minutes left in the segment. I want to make sure you get to your point.
But also that when we say we lead the country in whatever elections, the straight ticket ballot is the most horrible thing Toulouse Oliver has ever tried. It's lazy voting.
Okay, hold on. We're talking about ranked choice voting.
We don't have that.
But let's get back to Santa Fe. Did Common Cause or your organization, did you guys see any irregularities with ranked choice voting from the reports I have heard back from people in Santa Fe where I grew up?
So there were no irregularities in regards to the vote. One thing that we do need to continue to push is voter education. How do you mark your ballot when voting?
Which goes back to the exhausted ballot,
voter
right?
education.
Because the problem is if you don't rank all your ballot,
well, we have that now.
Okay,
right?
so in this
in a presidential election, you show up and you walk in and you vote for the president and you walk out.
Yeah.
You skip the rest of your ballot.
So
we see that happen a lot.
Let me ask you a question.
It's voter drop-off.
The legislators have now given the Secretary of State approval to kind of implement any kind of election type that she wants. Rule changes.
Yeah.
Anytime a rule changes she wants, number one. Number two, are you guys okay? Because I'm a believer, like, let's put this on the November ballot and let the people choose. Because some of the people that, not really you, but some of the people pushing ranked choice voting, they're pushing with city councils, they're pushing with other people, with elected officials that benefit, good or bad, from this. So my whole position is, are you guys okay that if we just put it on the ballot, let the people choose?
Well, let's talk about benefit.
Got 30 seconds.
Okay.
30 seconds
The people
quickly.
who ultimately benefit from ranked choice voting is the public. It's good government. Those are the individuals who are going to benefit from this. At the end of the day, what we need to look at is the voters and the voters themselves. We don't need to look at the candidates. We don't need to look at campaigns. How is this going to disrupt your campaign, and how do you have to now go ahead and alter your message? At the end of the day, what's the best for the public? What's the best for the voters?
I got a question with about 15 seconds left.
100% good government.
Has he convinced you?
Oh,
I think we need an hour show.
We're going to need more time. We are going to need more time.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. We'll have you back. I promise you we'll have you back. We'll be back right after this.
We are connected by rivers, by mountain ranges, by unique culture. But what connects us more than ever? Renewable energy from wind and solar. P&M delivers renewable energy every day to our homes, businesses, and institutions across the state.
And they are committed to 100% emissions-free energy by 2040.
After all, we call this home too. P&M, together for New Mexico.
Ryan Sewing and Vacuum is New Mexico's #1 brother dealer. Brother's new Luminaire has a built-in projection system which helps with quilting, embroidering, and sewing. Ryan's has a variety of machines to satisfy quilters, sewers, embroiders, and long armors. We offer the finest vacuums like Miele, Riccar, and Lindhaus. Check out our fantastic selection of fabrics and sewing furniture. We also offer classes, repair, and financing. Drop by our store in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Ryan Sewing and Vacuum, serving New Mexico for 37 years.
I'm Ben Lucero, president and owner of Indigo Mortgage. We are a locally owned and operated mortgage company right here in New Mexico. This means your loan officers and processors are right here to serve you. Indigo Mortgage offers better rates and terms than that of big banks and out-of-state lenders. Our mortgage divisions include residential, commercial, construction, reverse mortgages, and VA mortgage loans. Let us serve you with an exemplary level of care. Indigo Mortgage, because nobody cares more about your mortgage loan.
Welcome back to Let's Meet in the Middle. Joining us now is City Councilwoman Cynthia Borrego, we appreciate you coming in today.
Before we jump in, don't forget we're Facebook Live, and so I'm trying to take some of your. I'm trying to respond to some of it on Facebook Live. So just keep sending us messages. Let's meet in the middle. Just at Facebook Live and Facebook or on social media. Just go. Let's meet in the middle. You'll find us. And we're live.
We love having you on.
Yeah, we're live on Facebook, and we try and answer all your guys' questions.
So right away out of the top, we've been talking about ranked choice voting. I'm still not a fan of it.
I think we're both very confused.
I don't know if
I'm not confused. We're still in the middle.
I don't know if I'm not as in the middle as he is. I'm more like, based on my research and the exhaustion rates and in working with young people for 25 years and basically being in the public service my whole life, I just don't see this as a good move for New Mexico in general. But you voted against ranked choice voting. Why did you vote against it?
When they brought it to the city council, you voted against it, and it didn't pass.
Yeah,
I did.
Which I think was a good move, by the way, just because I think we need to look at it more.
Well, the bill was O-1954, which actually failed at FGO, which is Finance, Government, and Operations. And it was pulled from Finance, Government, and Operations and went straight to City Council because I guess because it failed. I don't know why it went straight to City Council, but the sponsors pulled it and they sent it. When it came to City Council, it was June 17th. Right. And it failed on a 4-5 vote. And the reason that I voted against it is because I felt like there was not enough public education regarding the bill. I also, and I talked to the sponsors about that. We met several times and we discussed, you know, the whole concept of ranked choice voting. I did my own little sort of mini survey of people that I knew that were, you know, elderly, Hispanic. And they were like, "What, mijita, why are we changing this?" You know, that was their comment to me, some of them. And I had to explain to them how it worked. And I honestly had to go back and watch a video several times to understand it because it's not that simple. And I understand the sponsors, you know, they are passionate about it. But the other thing that I would mention to you is, if we go back in history and we talk about voting rights and how people came to vote, you know, I kind of see voting as equivalent to almost a property right. And if you think about, you know, our original forefathers, you had to be a property owner, you had to be a white male, and, you know, you basically had the right to vote, and you had to be a man. That's the other thing. Right. And, you know, that was a long, long time ago. So a lot of people have fought for the right to vote. And I thought, you know, I know that there were people that were passionate about City Council making the decision. And we did have that right to make that decision. But I really felt that it was an individual decision based on our history.
Well, you know, I was with, coincidentally, I was with Ken Sanchez, you know, who's on the city council with you, and he voted against it. And I said, Ken, why did you vote against it? And he's very much like you, very torn. He felt like it was a progressive movement to get more progressives or more liberals within that. And Ken's a Democrat, so let me just clarify that. But he was this simple. We gave the voters a choice to go to 51%, right, on the majority. So all he said was, I'm going to vote against it because I think it should be on the ballot for the voters to decide, not by the city council to decide.
I still don't understand.
But I guess the question for you is, does the council feel that way, or does most of the council support ranked choice voting, or they want the voters to choose, or everybody's still unsure?
I think
because it's pretty close. It's pretty split.
And I can't speak for other councilors. I can only speak for myself. But I think the sentiment is that, you know, based on our history of voting, and that's, you know, people should decide how they want to vote because it's such a fundamental right.
So I get where you're going with that, and I'm just wondering, if it failed in FGO, is it like how does it make it to a vote on the city council? Like, I'm just confused about the process. Like, to me, if we don't have the money, because FGO, again, give me what it stood for, financial.
Finance, government,
Government
and
operations. If there's no, I assume that tells me it was like, there's not money for this, or I don't get it. Like, so it fails FGO, it comes before you guys. Isn't it like a dead man walking or something? I don't get it. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting phrase.
Right. Well, yeah, right.
Well, no, not necessarily, because there are bills that if you see the sentiment at a committee meeting is not there, they can be pulled and sent directly to city council. So, and then it's kind of every man for themselves.
Anyway, and I kind of like that, because that means it's not killed in committee because a couple people control that committee. So I kind of like that.
When we say sentiment, it's just that these people that were looking for RCV or ranked choice voting are just pushing it so hard. You're like, well, we have to vote on this.
Well, let me ask you a question.
You know what I mean?
Like, the people that, and I guess we should have asked Mario this, but the people, because I've asked this question and no one gives me a straight answer. When they come to you as city council, why is this the topic now? Why are they pushing ranked choice voting so hard now? Because let me make this very clear to our viewers. Ranked choice voting has been around since the 1800s.
Right.
A lot of cities and states, took it under in the 20s and 30s. By the 20s and 30s, they saw the manipulation, and our country went away from it. Why is it being pushed on?
The mayor saying, because of ranked choice voting. Remember our mayoral candidate from Santa Fe?
Ron Trujillo.
He's convinced. Ron's convinced he lost because ranked choice voting, and the problem is, I'm going to say this again, is exhaustion. If you don't vote the right way, the most unpopular candidate has a high probability of winning.
But the ranked choice voting organization, which I've met with, Common Cause has now taken this up, which I believe Common Cause is a great organization supporting issues and policies. I don't agree with them on this right now, but when they talk to you as voting to get it, change the laws, what's their justification? Why is it such a big push now?
The justification that I heard when I met with them and these groups that are pushing it is really to save money, which, you know, I'm an advocate of fiscal responsibility.
Right, you really are, yeah.
But I also believe that this, as I mentioned before, is such a fundamental right for people because of the history of our voting. Not only, you know, blacks and women that have had to fight, you know, through the Civil Rights Bill, and, you know, women getting the right to vote, which wasn't even really that long ago, if you think about it, for New Mexico. And, you know, it just seems to me that because it's such an important issue, it kind of overrides that sort of, I
fiscal,
guess.
I see what I don't understand is, if they're saying save money, and the first thing I hear from, you know, people in favor of RCV is we have to educate the voter. Well, that's going to cost money to educate the voter. So the money you're saving on elections, you're going to be spending on PR, on how to, like, if you're trying to teach someone to vote, like, I just see so much wrong with that.
One of
like,
the things,
and it's intimidating. Well, so now the elderly couple that would normally go vote because they know how to check the ballot, it's like, can you see them not checking out a bit?
And to add something on top of this, the timing wise, we changed our election laws last year with Daniel Ivy Soto at the legislature, you know, and we combined all these elections. So now we're combining all these elections. We're having a longer ballot because we're including, you know, the smaller elections on the ballot. And now we're throwing ranked choice voting on top of that. You know, it just, to me, it seemed very complicated. And the timing of such was, you know, do we really want to...
Here's my concern as an individual is the Democratic Party used ranked choice voting during the delegate election. And what I noticed was some of the county leaders chose not to do that. They did the old-fashioned way. We got a bigger share of delegates in those. When they used ranked choice voting, we saw other candidates, and it was up and down the ballot. It wasn't just in the gubernatorial race. We saw up and down the ballot other candidates manipulating how they voted. So maybe they were better prepared for us. Maybe they were smarter at ranked choice voting. The party never came to us and said, we're going to do ranked choice voting. And they never came to the campaigns and said, here's how it works. So it was manipulated to help establish candidates. So I lived it in the debate. I mean, during the election. When you talk to a lot of the candidates in Santa Fe, everyone that lost was not happy with the way it worked out. So I agree with you. That's my biggest concern is, again, and I know it's two different things, but if we're really worried about it, then why don't we just have open primaries? Everybody can vote for everybody. The two top candidates move on. It might cost us a little bit more money, but isn't the game plan here is to get the best person elected that the majority of people want? Am I crazy?
Well, to me, I'll just double in with you on that. To me, ranked choice voting seems to say the least popular candidate can win. Because I'm not kidding you with this, because by the 5th round, because of ballot exhaustion, which I keep trying to hammer this home, right. If people didn't, okay, so if I don't like somebody, where do I put them? 5th, right? Right?
Or in Santa Fe, you just didn't put them anywhere.
Right, or nowhere, right? And so now,
then the vote got thrown out.
You got an invalidated ballot, or my 5th candidate, if it's close between the top 4, and I get down to 5th, and everybody voted 5th, right? That guy, guess who wins?
Cynthia,
we got about, what I'm saying?
City Councilwoman, we have about a minute left.
That's where I get nervous
and
about.
The question I have is this going to come back in front of the City Council? Is this coming back in front of you guys?
No, this is going to the voters in November.
So it will be on the ballot in November.
Yes, and the other thing
that
I
just
just
for the whole state
in Albuquerque. The other thing I might mention is, you know, there are people who would have been disenfranchised because there's no, you know, there's language barriers. That's another thing that I would just mention is, you know, you have Asian community, you have Native American communities who speak different languages. So I just honestly did not see enough public education in this particular instance.
It would take a long time and a lot of money to get people educated on this process, because I'm fairly quick on the uptake and I can't get my arms around.
The two cases I looked at, the two cases I looked at, I saw manipulation, and that's what I'm very concerned about. But anyway, City Councilwoman, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, and we'll be back right after this message.
Ryan Sewing and Vacuum is New Mexico's #1 brother dealer. Brother's new Luminaire has a built-in projection system which helps with quilting, embroidering, and sewing. Ryan's has a variety of machines to satisfy quilters, sewers, embroiders, and long armors. We offer the finest vacuums like Miele, Riccar, and Lindhaus. Check out our fantastic selection of fabrics and sewing furniture. We also offer classes, repair, and financing. Drop by our store in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Ryan Sewing and Vacuum, serving New Mexico for 37 years.
I'm Ben Lucero, president and owner of Indigo Mortgage. We are a locally owned and operated mortgage company right here in New Mexico. This means your loan officers and processors are right here to serve you. Indigo Mortgage offers better rates and terms than that of big banks and out-of-state lenders. Our mortgage divisions include residential, commercial, construction, reverse mortgages, and VA mortgage loans. Let us serve you with an exemplary level of care. Indigo Mortgage, because nobody cares more about your mortgage loan.
We are connected by rivers, by mountain ranges, by unique culture. But what connects us more than ever? Renewable energy from wind and solar. P&M delivers renewable energy every day to our homes, businesses, and institutions across the state.
And they are committed to 100% emissions-free energy by 2040.
After all, we call this home too. P&M, together for New Mexico.
Welcome back to Let's Meet in the Middle.
Talk about voter exhaustion.
Yeah, I am exhausted.
Well, let me straighten something out. The City Council, Borrego wanted us to clarify that she misspoke. The ranked choice voting is not on the ballot.
Will not be on the ballot.
They were trying to push that, and the City Council voted that down, and she got confused between another ballot. So,
which I think is a good thing, because speaking of meet in the middle, I mean, I'm still not there on this. I don't think it's good. I think it, number one point is, when you look at majority rule, it gives you more legitimacy as a candidate when you win.
Right.
If it's a ranked choice voting, you're the semi-best out of the five,
well, and you
whatever.
You know
what I mean? Because it gives you less legitimacy.
And I think we've decided that we really have to have an hour show just on this topic, because I did talk to Mario a lot on this topic coming in, prepping for the show, and for him, and to give him 14 minutes. We could literally spend an hour talking about this.
Yeah, and it was rough letting him get all his points out.
Right, and so I think we need to have a whole show on this. And I think the biggest point, the City Council, Ike Benton and Pat Davis are pushing it. They support it. They think it's the best way to do it. Brad Winter, who's retiring,
Yeah.
he supported it because of fiscal responsibility.
Okay, well,
that's
I'm
why.
going to ask you a quick
Why.
question. Let me ask you a quick question. Say we have Michelle Lujan Grisham and Jeff Apodaca and 3 other candidates, and I think, you know, I'm really like Michelle Lujan Grisham, but I know Jeff Apodaca is the second best guy.
Right.
Right? Using ranked choice voting, if I'm really all in on Michelle Lujan Grisham, where am I putting you?
Well, no, you.
Hold
would,
on, where
you
am
would-
I gonna rank
You
you?
would put me 5th.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
So right away.
I'm assuming you'd put me
Well,
5th.
listen.
Right.
Well, no, because if I'm being snaky about the process,
You don't want the second best guy.
I know that
Right.
you are the second best candidate, but as I'm ranking them, I'm sitting there going, you know what? I'm going to get this Apodaca cat. You're my 5th.
And
And right there,
exactly.
you've been eliminated out of the first 2 rounds.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the Democratic Party did within the
Thank
delegate
you. election.
They had strategized with candidates, so certain candidates would go. You would vote for. So any Apodaca delegates were voted at the bottom.
Bingo.
And so we were kind
And
of
so
we were
look,
kind
you
of cut
can
off.
you can game the system. Number one, does it give true legitimacy to the winner? Because you're ranking, so you don't know.
Here was my
you know,
concern.
like-
Here was my concern. Here was my concern in Santa Fe, is that in Santa Fe, they confused the Latino community so much with some of the PAC money that came in, and I get what
Which
what,
brings me to
I get
my
what
point.
Mario said. It was like, well, there's PAC money confusing everybody.
Yeah,
but my
but-
point was, Latinos either voted. Some of the majority of Latinos did not vote. Either didn't rank them.
Or
So
they
some
ju- yeah,
some of the
just threw
some
up
of
their
those
hands, they're like,
or
huh?
some of those candidates didn't get counted on the second, third, or fourth ballot.
Which leads me to my next point. Shouldn't voting be easy?
Absolutely. And what's the easiest? And they said, well, look, again, you look at states that do this, just go and have open primaries, open elections, and your top 2 people. Now, I do agree with this. If the runoff is going to be in December, and I don't know, I trust Mario has the right statistics, a 77% drop-off is a big drop-off. That's
Yeah.
a big, big drop-off.
Yeah.
But I've always said is that then have the election in October, and have 30 days later the runoff, so it's all done within that period.
Again, you know I don't trust the statistics that much
Right,
historically. And if you're telling me a 77%, 77's huge, right?
That's a
Then
huge
that's
drop.
a big number.
That's a big number. I'm going to look that up.
I don't believe that number one. Because now you're telling me, then you have to look at the overall numbers and say, now we started with 50,000 voters or whatever, and now it went down by 70%?
Yeah, it means like
No.
it means like 15,000
No.
voters. Anyway, one of the things that so I guess what we can talk about is, I think what I'm more proud about as a city councilwoman is that they're very seriously looking at this. They don't understand why there's a big push here. No one has come clean to me to say why they're pushing
just
to
saying
make the
it saves
changes.
money.
Well, and
That's their big thing.
again, some of the other people are talking about ranked choice voting. It gives, like, if I was a candidate, I'm asking Eric for my vote. If you say, look, I'm voting for Michelle, then I say, okay, well, look.
I'll take your second
If
vote.
Michelle,
Take your second
so
rank.
what they're saying is it engages the candidate with other
It does
people.
not.
I don't see it that way either. But
Because
I mean,
if I'm all in on Michelle, I'm going to go back to my first point. Where am I putting you? I'm putting you 5th.
right.
Right?
Right.
And there might be a chance, if it's that close, that all my 5th place votes go for Jeff
Well,
Apodaca.
and by-
So now a guy who thought, oh, I'm gonna get Jeff, now just jack themselves up because they got a candidate they didn't even want.
Right.
Do you see? Look, again, I'm in the middle. Here's where I'm at. I think it's too confusing. I think it should be a simple process, and I agree with our city councilwoman. It's a sacred right to vote. So let's keep it easy.
And on my
let's
point,
keep it easy.
and on my point, I went back and looked at this. We've had in our country since the late 1800s,
Yes.
all the way up to about 1920 to 1930, some even up as 1940. We've gone ranked choice voting, and back then they found manipulation with establishments trying to push certain candidates. You have stories, you have research. So my point is if you want to engage everybody, let's have open elections. Let's get more candidates running. Have everybody vote for whoever you want.
You're
have
getting me on board. I'm kind of bonding with the open primaries
because
I feel like
think about it.
Sometimes I register
Hold
just so
on,
I have a
but
voice.
let me tell you,
Yeah.
numbers showed,
It's a good
and I'm
point.
not trying to,
Good point.
numbers showed, if we had open primaries and there was an open general election, I would have actually beat Steve Pierce in the primary, and the two final candidates would have been Michelle and Jeff. And our numbers showed in the general election with Republicans and independents supporting our candidacy that I could have won. So again.
But you couldn't make it out of the Democratic primary.
Well, the way the system is.
Yeah.
Right. And so, so that's what I'm just saying is, and I go back to California has done that, and California has done that, and they've seen more candidates running.
Yeah.
They've seen their about 12 to 16% every election. So in the last 10 years, they've seen voter turnout in the primaries, open election primaries, by 32%, 33%.
Real quick, if you go into Ryan Sohenbach, by the way, and if you like the shows, please support our advertisers. Mention Let's Meet in the Middle and get a discount, by the way.
Yeah, and thank you for our sponsors, Indigo Mortgage, Ryan's Sohenbach, and P&M. We really appreciate that. Hey, we're going to be right back after this moment to wrap up the show, so we'll be back after these commercials.
We are connected by rivers, by mountain ranges, by unique culture. But what connects us more than ever? Renewable energy from wind and solar. P&M delivers renewable energy every day to our homes, businesses, and institutions across the state.
And they are committed to 100% emissions-free energy by 2040.
After all, we call this home too. P&M, together for New Mexico.
I'm Ben Lucero, president and owner of Indigo Mortgage. We are a locally owned and operated mortgage company right here in New Mexico. This means your loan officers and processors are right here to serve you. Indigo Mortgage offers better rates and terms than that of big banks and out-of-state lenders. Our mortgage divisions include residential, commercial, construction, reverse mortgages, and VA mortgage loans. Let us serve you with an exemplary level of care. Indigo Mortgage, because nobody cares more about your mortgage loan.
Ryan Sewing and Vacuum is New Mexico's #1 brother dealer. Brother's new Luminaire has a built-in projection system which helps with quilting, embroidering, and sewing. Ryan's has a variety of machines to satisfy quilters, sewers, embroiders, and long armors. We offer the finest vacuums like Miele, Riccar, and Lindhaus. Check out our fantastic selection of fabrics and sewing furniture. We also offer classes, repair, and financing. Drop by our store in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Ryan Sewing and Vacuum, serving New Mexico for 37 years.
Welcome back to Let's Meet in the Middle. Look,
I got a headache.
Do you
I'm
have
tired.
a headache?
I'm tired. I got to have my Diet Coke.
This ranked choice voting, I'm suspicious of it. And
Well, let's put it this way. I don't think Mario said by the end of the show he was going to convince us.
Yeah, we did not.
So I'll tell you right now, we should have a whole show on this and bring everybody to the table.
Yeah.
Look, we talked about the Democratic debate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any clear winner. I think the Democrats are split.
I don't know.
I'm concerned as a Democrat.
Who's coming
I'm
out of that
concerned as a
fracas.
Democrat that they're going to give the election to Trump. You went to the rally and?
Amazing.
And we saw.
And this is the difference: is the Democrats are doing nothing but talking about negative things, negative, negative, negative. Racism, healthcare needs to be abolished for the system we have. They're doing nothing but focusing on what's not working in America. And I'm telling you, being at that rally is a clear, positive message. Let's be great together.
Well,
was the message. How do you
I'm
fight
hoping.
against that?
I'm hoping Trump then starts stopping his negative tweeting and focuses on those. And let me make this very clear.
hope
And let me
that Trump
and let me make
stops
this very
tweeting,
clear.
but it's not gonna
The people that
happen.
don't, again,
It's not
going
gonna
back
happen.
to the very beginning. Hillary won by 8 points, but Johnson took 9% of the vote. So the Republicans and the
New
Trump
Mexico's
people.
in play.
New
If
Mexico.
you
I
went to
agree.
that rally,
I agree.
If you went to that rally, let me tell you something right
I
now
agree
on
with
TV. New Mexico's in play.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I
so-
agree. And again, hopefully the Democrats wake up and start talking about positive things and positive issues with them. So.
Well, I'm hoping they don't. So
I
continue
know,
on this
I know.
path of socialism, and you're
But
going
hey,
to pave the
all
way.
we can tell you is stay engaged. Thank you for
Yep.
watching our show.
Go out and make a difference in the world.
And New Mexico, there's one thing I can tell you: never give up and always find a way. God bless you. We'll see you
Yep,
next
God
week.
bless.